They collapse the way doors close in corporate offices, quietly, cleanly, and without minutes ever being taken. What the audience sees is surface chaos, strained smiles, missed holidays, and a family that never quite gathers anymore. But beneath that is a system, patterns repeating, meetings that almost happen, reconciliation that's always almost scheduled. In this system, someone absorbs the fallout, and someone else benefits from the silence. Because when a full reunion never materializes, accountability never consolidates. No unified voices, no shared timeline, no moment where power gets redistributed. And the cost isn't just emotional. It's legacy. It's control over narrative. It's which relationships get repaired, and which ones quietly expire off camera. Tonight, we're not chasing gossip. We're tracing incentives. And by the end of this investigation, you'll see why the most damaging decisions in this family may not be the ones made loudly, but the ones delayed, filtered, and never officially denied. Stay with us. We're laying out the evidence. Sometimes, a family reunion doesn't end with an argument. Sometimes, it never even starts. And the most powerful, no, is the one that happens quietly, behind closed doors, without anyone putting it on the record. Tonight, we're examining a claim fans keep repeating. That Robyn Brown quietly shut down a Brown family reunion, and the rest of the family is refusing to say it out loud. We are not here to manufacture rumors. We are here to map what's public, what's been said on camera, what's been reported by reputable outlets. And why viewers believe a reunion may have been stopped before it became real. And the most important clue may not be a sentence at all, but a reaction. What fans think happened without stating it as fact. In the fan ecosystem, the theory goes like this. A reunion, meaning a real, private, emotionally honest meeting between Kody and the adult children, was within reach. But something, or someone, put brakes on the plan. Fans point to a pattern. Kody expresses interest in reconciliation. A conversation starts. Then the big room, the everyone together, the hash it out, doesn't happen. And in fan forums, one name keeps surfacing, Robyn. Not because there's hard proof of a secret meeting being cancelled, but because viewers believe the family's decision-making center of gravity has shifted over time. So the question becomes, if a reunion didn't happen, who benefits from keeping it that way? The Brown family has lived inside a paradox for years. They're a private family, with a public contract. They're real people, in a reality TV structure. That structure can reward emotional conflict. But it can also punish unresolved conflict. Because if reconciliation happens fully, the storyline changes. And if reconciliation happens partially, the tension stays marketable. This is not an accusation toward any one person. It's a reality of the format. Story arcs shape behavior, and behavior shapes story arcs. But here's what complicates the Robyn theory. In recent seasons, Kody himself has openly described how fractured things are, especially with his children. Verified public statements about family fractures. In a 2025 interview reported by Fox 5 New York, Kody Brown said, "I had 18 kids with 4 wives. There's been 3 divorces. I'd never marry again." He also acknowledged bad blood, and said that in some cases with his children, communication has ceased. Those words matter because they frame the reunion question. If communication has ceased, rebuilding usually requires structure, facilitation, and trust. And that leads to another important public thread. The show has aired scenes and reports of Kody attempting reconciliation, at least with former wives. For example, people reported on an episode clip where Kody apologized to Christine during a tense but civil meeting. So if apologies are happening, why do fans still feel the family reunion isn't? The reunion concept, what it actually means. When viewers say, family reunion, they don't usually mean a photo op. They mean a private setting, no cameras, unless everyone agrees. Adult kids present. Hard questions asked. Accountability taken. Boundaries respected. In other words, the kind of conversation that can't be controlled by one person. And that is why fans speculate someone might prefer it not happen. But speculation is not proof. So we have to look at what is evidence-based. What has Robyn said publicly about family unity and the possibility of coming together? Because when you compare her stated hopes with the outcomes fans observe, the gap is where theories grow. Robyn's public position. Hope, without guarantees. In media coverage of the show, Robyn has spoken in terms of hope, not certainty. For instance, reporting has quoted her saying she sure hopes it's possible for the family to come together again, while acknowledging the dynamic now looks different. This is a key nuance. Hope is not a plan. Hope is not logistics. Hope does not automatically translate to a reunion. And in a family where trust has been degraded over years, the difference between I hope and I will do becomes everything. But the reunion theory isn't built only on what Robyn says. It's built on what fans believe she signals when the idea of ex-wives and reunification comes up. The reaction that fans fixate on. In recent sneak peeks and recaps circulating in entertainment coverage, Robyn's emotional reaction to the idea of an ex-wife returning to the family structure has been highlighted as a moment that viewers interpret intensely. Now, a reaction is not a confession. A reaction is not a veto. But in reality television, reactions become narratives. Fans read meaning into micro-expressions because they're trying to answer one question. Who is comfortable with change, and who isn't? And this is where the theory hardens. If reunification threatens stability, routines, power dynamics, or emotional safety, anyone might resist it. But there's a deeper layer. The Brown family isn't just emotionally complex. It's legally and structurally complicated. Legal background. The one legal marriage, reality. Plural families can be emotionally plural. But legally, they're often singular. A major inflection point frequently referenced in coverage is the 2014 legal divorce between Kody and Meri, which enabled Kody to legally marry Robyn and adopt her children. That legal structure matters because it changes inheritance realities, next of kin assumptions, household leadership perception, and, most importantly, how family members feel about status. Robyn has addressed the legal marriage topic publicly, including coverage quoting her saying she never even wanted to be legally married to Kody and denying claims that she planted ideas about the divorce. So why does this legal history keep coming up in reunion discussions? Because reunions aren't just emotional. They're about who sits at the center of the family, and who believes they no longer have access to that center. The trust problem. Why adult kids change everything. A reunion with adult children is different than reconciliation with an ex-spouse. Adult children often bring long memory, specific examples, and less incentive to protect a romantic narrative. That's why fans focus on whether Kody's reconciliation efforts translate into child-to-parent repair. In coverage cited by E! News, Christine has been quoted suggesting Kody can still fix relationships with his children, and that the kids' frustrations existed before she left. This is important. If the fracture predates certain breakups, then a reunion isn't about one divorce. It's about a multi-year system of hurt. And in that context, fans ask, would a full reunion create healing, or create a confrontation nobody can manage? The operational reality, reunion, requires consent and control. Let's talk operationally. A reunion requires alignment. Who attends? Where it happens? What the rules are? Whether cameras are present? Who moderates? What topics are off limits? How emotional safety is protected. In fractured families, the person most concerned about emotional volatility may advocate for smaller meetings. That can look like control. Or it can look like containment. Fans who criticize Robyn often interpret smaller meetings as strategy. A way to prevent adult children from confronting Kody in a single unified setting. But the other interpretation is simpler. Avoiding a blow-up is not automatically malicious. Sometimes it's risk management. So why do fans overwhelmingly lean toward the darker interpretation? Because of history, and because of what viewers feel they've watched accumulate over seasons. Past episode callbacks. The shift fans say they saw. Longtime viewers point to a timeline. Robyn enters the family in 2010. The family grows, relocates, and strains. Over time, scenes shift from everyone together to parallel lives. Then, major relationship breakdowns become explicit. Christine's separation in 2021, and by 2023, the spiritual marriages with Mary and Janelle are also over in public reporting and show coverage. Fans interpret this as a movement from a plural system to a single household orbit, with Robyn and her children positioned as the center of daily life. And when viewers believe a center has formed, they assume it can block access. But in 2024 and 2025, Kody's own words about prioritizing younger children with Robyn have fueled that perception further. Kody's little kids framing and its impact. People's coverage of the show included a moment where Kody discussed prioritizing his small children with Robyn, and the generational gap between households, raising questions about what it means for the older kids. In a family system, prioritization can be felt as abandonment by those not prioritized. Even if the intention is logistical. Even if the explanation sounds reasonable to the person making it. This creates a structural dilemma. If older kids feel deprioritized, they may want a reunion to force acknowledgement. If the current household feels threatened, they may want boundaries. And this is where Robyn becomes the symbol in fan narratives. Whether fair or not, fan and community reactions. What viewers say, anecdotal, clearly labeled. In online communities, fans debate the same question again and again. Is Robyn protecting peace, or protecting position? On Reddit, hosts often interpret Robyn's language and reactions as evidence of boundary setting, shutdown behavior, or emotional withdrawal. On Facebook fan spaces, similar claims circulate framing Robyn as someone who doesn't want A full family confrontation. Though these are not verified facts, only audience perceptions. It's important to be explicit. Fan commentary is not evidence. But it is data about public sentiment. And sentiment shapes the show's afterlife. How scenes are interpreted, clipped, titled, shared, and remembered. So what would it look like if a reunion really was quietly shut down? It wouldn't look like a dramatic refusal. It would look like delays, conditions, and an endless push into later. The soft veto pattern fans describe. Fans describe what they call a soft veto. Not no, but not right now, not like that, not with everyone. Let's do it privately. Let's keep it calm. In many families, those phrases are reasonable. In the Brown family, where viewers believe power has been uneven, those phrases can look like control. And because the show has documented years of fracture, fans assume the person closest to the center of Kody's daily life has the greatest influence. But influence does not equal authorship. So we need to ask the uncomfortable question. Is it possible the reunion is not happening because of Kody? Not Robyn. Alternative explanation. Kody's accountability challenge. Even in reputable coverage, Kody's strained relationships are described as difficult and ongoing. He has publicly acknowledged major breakdowns, including the fact that communication with some children has ceased. In that light, a reunion requires something very specific. Consistent accountability, without defensiveness. And that can be hard for anyone, especially in a family system where years of televised conflict have created entrenched positions. In a reconciliation process, the barrier is often not the gathering itself. It's the willingness to sit in discomfort long enough for trust to rebuild. So why does Robyn still take the heat? Because in public narratives, audiences assign gatekeeper roles to whoever stands closest to access. And Robyn, fairly or unfairly, has been positioned there. The media incentive layer, storylines, scenes, and what gets filmed. Reality TV is real life. But it is also structured. Scenes get scheduled, topics get prompted, questions get asked. When a producer asks a pointed question, like how someone would feel if an ex-wife returned, the answer becomes a signal to the audience. This doesn't mean producers create outcomes. But it does mean the show amplifies certain emotional fault lines. And if a reunion were to happen off-camera, privately, with genuine repair, it could reduce the show's central tension. That doesn't mean anyone is stopping it. It means the ecosystem doesn't naturally reward it. Which brings us to the phrase in the title. And no one is saying it out loud. Because in a public family, silence is strategy. Why silence happens? Legal, emotional, and reputational risk. If a reunion attempt failed, truly failed, nobody would want that on record. Not the adult kids, who may feel exposed. Not Kody, who risks further reputational damage. Not Robyn, who would become the confirmed villain in many viewers' eyes. Not the ex-wives, who may want peace more than headlines. That's why quiet shutdown theories thrive. They fit the logic of reputational protection. And because the Brown family's legal structure has historically been a sensitive point, careful language is often used in public statements. So what are the long-term implications, if a real reunion keeps not happening? Post-event analysis. What non-reconciliation does over time When reconciliation stalls, families don't freeze in place. They reform without you. Adult children build adult lives. They create new holiday traditions. They stop expecting the call. And eventually, they stop hoping. Meanwhile, the parent left behind may interpret distance as betrayal. And the household closest to that parent may experience the situation as constant stress. The sense that the past is always about to crash into the present. In public reporting and show coverage, we've seen at least some steps toward apology and reflection, like Kody's apology to Christine described by People. But partial reconciliation is not systemic repair. And if the family never reassembles, history hardens into a permanent story. Who ended us? Instead of, how do we heal? The balanced conclusion. What we can, and can't, claim. So, did Robyn quietly shut down a family reunion? Based on publicly available, reputable reporting alone. There is no confirmed documentation that a specific reunion was scheduled and then cancelled by Robyn. What we do have are verified signals of deep family fracture, including ceased communication with some children, as Kody publicly acknowledged. And a long-running public debate about how the family's structure and legal reality shifted over time. We also have a documented landscape of fan interpretation, particularly around Robyn's reactions and the idea of reunification, which drives a powerful public narrative. But the more important question may not be, who shut it down? It may be, what would it take for any reunion to be safe enough to finally happen? Final beat. Human ending. Docudrama close. Families don't break in one moment. They fracture in 1,000 small ones. Missed calls, unsaid apologies, delayed conversations. Maybe there was never a formal reunion to shut down. Maybe there were only openings. And fear. And the weight of years that made, later, feel easier than, now. And if no one is saying it out loud, that might be because saying it out loud would force the family to answer a question they've avoided for too long. Not, who stopped the reunion? But, who is willing to do what repair actually costs? If you believe silence can be strategic, like this video, it tells the algorithm this investigation matters. Comment below with the moment you believe changed everything. Your insight becomes part of the record. Subscribe to stay inside this ongoing analysis, because patterns only emerge when episodes are connected. And watch the linked playlist to see how this system evolved over time.